David Jackson. I'm a resident here since August 28, 1978. I'm a deacon at the Anglican Church of Christ the King in Chico. That is St. Augustine of Canterbury in Chico. And I've been in the real estate business for, 26, 27 years, something like that. Mm-hmm. Your turn.
My name's Bette Hall Jackson, and David and I are fairly much newlyweds. We just got married in 2016, so what a terrible part of our beginning of our marriage. But anyway, I work in health and wellness. I have done that since the late 80s, but I wasn't from this area. I was working my health and wellness in Tulsa, Oklahoma, but I moved here before we got married, before we even met, and I did health and wellness here. I still do that work. I still am employed, even though I'm past retirement age.
Bette wasn't home when all this evacuation stuff started happening. And the neighbor across the street from me, her father is part of the Reserve Sheriff Department. An older gentleman, retired, but he still had the radio and he had access to all the sheriff stuff. And he was there and he was talking to us, and he was saying the fire seems to be headed across the ridge and over in other directions, and the safest place you people could be right now is right here where you are, because we're above Paradise. And because the evacuation order had been issued, I sort of, in a kind of half-hearted way, started getting some stuff together and putting it in the car. And my neighbor Trevor went hiking in the woods a little bit, and he came back and he said, "You see that yellow over there? There's fire coming this way, and it doesn't look like there's anybody getting ready to do anything about it. And we should maybe leave, and maybe tomorrow we're not going to have a place to be." Well, so I still sort of dithered and this and that, and then finally he came and he said, "We really should go." And so I thought to myself, okay, I guess so. So I called the dog, and it was interesting. Most of the time you call the dog and the dog says, "Oh, never mind, I'm going to do what I want." But this time the dog came right away and got in the car, and I had gathered together some precious possessions and some stuff I thought that Bette could use.
That's another story.
And had them all in the car, and I'm one of these people, I get halfway down the driveway and say, "Oh, I forgot this," and so I go back and do it, and "Oh, I forgot that," and I go back and do it, and then finally, and there was a sheriff going up and down the neighboring streets, a sheriff's deputy, and he said, "You have to get out now." And I said, "Oh, all right. I guess I'll just go down Skyway and go through Paradise and get to Chico." And he said, "No, you can't do that. Paradise is gone." And this was about, I'm going to guess here, maybe 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It was obvious, it was later in the day. It was in the afternoon, still light. And so the evacuation route is up the Skyway, through through Sterling, through Inskip, and then up and then over the road to the Bambi Inn, and then down Highway 32. And I wasn't the only person on that road. There were a lot of people on that road. And that road is very twisty and it's very narrow, and thousands of feet to the rocks below on the right-hand side, and on the left-hand side, maybe enough room. It's a good thing there wasn't traffic going the other way. Anyway, it took forever, so finally got to the Bambi Inn, and I stopped and had a drink and used the bathroom, and then I went down Highway 32. And as I was going down Highway 32, there was some sort of a commotion, some kind of an accident in front of me, and somebody came running along, and there came some little dogs. And going down Highway 32, I looked off to the left, and there was a big orange glow in the sky, and I took a couple pictures of it. Not as dramatic as the pictures that I've seen of other people who have escaped from the fire and taking videos and things as they were leaving, but nonetheless, there is a definite glow in the sky. And all this time I'd been trying to reach Bette on the cell phone, but there was no cell phone service. Because I was going to say, Bette, you know, I don't know where you are. Where are you? I left the house. I don't know where you are. And let's meet in
He knew I was at work.
Well, I didn't know. I didn't know where I couldn't reach you. I figured your job was over. And I was saying, well, they won't let you come back to the house. You won't be able to get home. And we can meet in the parking lot of the church. Because, you know, I have keys to the church, and we can go in the church and what have you, and all that. And so I got to the church and then finally made connection with Bette, and then we spent the night in our cars in the parking lot of the church. And obviously we had no way of knowing if the house is still there or not. And in a way that was a most challenging aspect of the whole situation, not knowing if the house was gone or not.
I had left on the 7th because I was working up in Bernie. So they got me a motel the night before, just a block away from where I was going to work. And so the next day I get up and I go to work, and I don't remember how early in the morning it was, but we usually have to be at work by 5 or 6 a.m. So I don't know, David sent me a text around 9 or 10. I really don't remember the time. But the text said, I think he said, I packed my things and I'm leaving. And I'm thinking, what? What are you talking about? I haven't done anything wrong. Do you have a girlfriend? Are you leaving me already? We haven't been married that long. And so I take a break. I have to see the customers, participants, and it's a medical situation, so they have to have complete privacy, and I could not text him back or try to call him or anything. But as soon as I got a break between patients, I tried to text him, and I guess he didn't get my text. But so then when I started telling everybody what happened, they said, you should go ahead and go. And I said, no, I'll finish my shift. And so I finished my shift, and the whole time I'm just scared to death underneath. Oh, maybe I shouldn't go home if he's left. But anyway, so what happened was when I finally got a chance to tell the story there where I was at, come to find out, you're not going to believe this, but I was working at PG&E that day. Well, so they heard me telling the story about my husband leaving and packing his things and stuff, and they said, well, you know, he might be evacuated. I said, what are you talking about? There's a big fire down there, and there's forced evacuation down there, and that's how I found out, actually. But I still wasn't sure, because all day I tried to get a hold of him. All the circuits were down, and I guess he was trying to get a hold of me. We finally got to talk about 5 o'clock in the evening. And then that's when we met up and went to the church. And we went inside for a while, but we actually slept in the car. And then the following day, the insurance company put us up in a hotel in the middle of Skid Row of Chico. Now that was another story. One day they'd say, okay, well, we were supposed to get it for 3 days, the room. And they said, okay, you can have it for 3 days. The next morning, you're going to have to go. That room's reserved. What do you mean? You said we could have it for 3 days. Well, it's reserved. You're going to have to go. Same thing happened. Finally, they came back to us and said, okay, you can stay. Anyway, it happened 3 days in a row. And on the third day, I had a major meltdown. I can't take this. Okay, you can stay. Okay, you have to leave. And finally, the insurance company was able to get us a more permanent place. They put us in a very nice suite in Roseville, which is near Sacramento. And we stayed there for almost a full 3 months. Yeah. And for a lot of that time, like he said, the worst part was not knowing if the house was burnt. Here's the sad part. You would think I would be jumping for joy because our house didn't burn, but I hate to tell my story to the locals. They have had it so much worse than what we have had. You know, they've lost loved ones. We lost friends too, but not family. But they've lost their loved ones, their homes, their vehicles, their cars, the whole cars. I'm sorry, I gotta get a Kleenex.
Yeah, I'm here.
I have a
I have them here,
Kleenex.
too.
I have clean Kleenexes in my purse. Anyway, cars would be driving down the road and the wheels would melt right off the car as they're driving. And then people were getting out of their cars and trying to run for their life because it was so bad. I mean, they had such major stories to tell, but we don't have that type of story to tell. But because their situation was so bad, I really hate to tell them our story, that we still have a house. I'm happy that we have a house, but I hate to tell it. And another bad thing about it is that here we are 9 months later, but we can't go anywhere without going through the worst of it. Anywhere we can't shop up here, so we have to go to Chico. We've always gone to church in Chico, and to go to Chico, we have to go through Paradise and see all the work and the damage and the burn and same thing. If we try to go out the other way on the 70, we have to go to Oroville. We still have to go and see all the
impact.
The impact.
But the time that I kind of felt a wave of emotion about the whole thing, because for me it was just, we all go through life and we cope through things that are hard, and I've had to cope through things that are hard just like everyone else has. But when we were in the parking lot of, was it that big store or Big Lot or whatever it is in Chico, when they were giving us all,
yes.
And there were people just handing out clothes and pizza and giving us a drink and just all this stuff. And I almost felt like crying for a second because I didn't know if the house is still there. And 1 minute I was a realtor with my own house in in Paradise or Magalia and all that sort of thing. And the next minute I was a beggar. And we were all beggars in that parking lot because we figured we'd all lost our houses and we all had nothing. And so, if there's some clothing that is roughly my size, that's fine, and stuff like that. And but otherwise it's just a matter of, what do we do? What do we do? And just have to do this and do that and do the other. And so that's kind of it. It seems to me that the atmosphere of something like that is, after there's a terrible crisis, it brings people together and gives them a sense of community, and then they have a meeting
True.
like that and they talk about all different kinds of things to do. Not necessarily fire related, although a lot of it is, but just kind of there's sort of a sense of community. The place was pretty full, and if they keep having those meetings, I imagine it'll keep on being like that.